President Trump is threatening to revoke security clearances from some of his biggest critics. Democrats argue that's something that Trump shouldn't play politics with. But Debbie Georgatos from 660 AM The Answer says it is justified. In My Voice, My Opinion.
President Trump is considering revoking security clearance for former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, former CIA Director John Brennan, and former FBI Director James Comey. Security clearance is not a right and should be removed if abused for partisan political purposes. All three regularly attack the president and make money doing it. John Brennan is an MSNBC analyst. James Clapper, a CNN analyst. James Comey sells books. These three also have major credibility issues. James Clapper told Congress he had not discussed the Russian dossier with journalists when he had. John Brennan denied that the CIA spied on Senate staffers when they had. James Comey leaked classified documents. All three seem to have been somewhere near the kitchen where the Trump-Russia collusion story was cooked up. Removal of their security clearances should be the least of their worries. I'm Debbie Georgatos, and this is My Voice, My Opinion.